All right, guys, welcome back. Brand new Take Aim podcast, and this is a super quick, short episode. I'm with Tim Clark from Reddog Outfitters. Tim is just explaining the Kansas draw for deer hunting. Today is the deadline, so we're just getting out a podcast to get the information out. If you're thinking about doing Kansas this year or in 2021, you need to take a listen. But hope you guys enjoy the show. It's a quick one, but a good one. All right, guys, welcome back to brand new Take Aim podcast, and happy to have this guy back with me, Tim Clark from Reddog Outfitters. Tim, what's happening?
Just getting finished up with the draw out here. We actually closed today for applications, so I'm glad you decided to have me on the show. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's a great time to have you on. I'm going to literally probably barely edit this, probably nothing fancy, probably not even intro music. I'm just going to fly it out today, just to let guys know, like, hey, sorry me and Tim were a little bit late on getting the news out, but some of you probably follow. But like Tim said, today's the deadline for Kansas. So if you're thinking about deer hunting Kansas, that means today is it. So I'm going to have Tim kind of just walk us through the process of what zones, where to be, and especially if you're going to hunt with one of the most successful guys in terms of putting deer down and big deer down. That'd be Tim. So Tim, go ahead and let us know what they got to do to kind of apply and or just grab a preference point.
Yeah, no problem. Today is the deadline for the state of Kansas. So the entire state of Kansas is on draw. So you can't, but just buy a license and come out here like you can in other states like Nebraska where it's over the counter. So if you want to hunt Kansas this year or next year, you have to go through a process, and the application process is through the state of Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks. If you're looking to go somewhere this year, if you don't have a place already lined up, it's pretty risky to just put in for a tag and then get it and then hope for gaining access later if you don't have an outfitter or somebody already lined up. So honestly, if you don't have something picked out already, you're probably looking at next year anyway. The nice part about that is that you can buy a preference point this year, and even in the units where I'm at, we're actually not traditionally, but historically, we're the hardest unit to draw for because we're closest to Denver over here. I think that's probably a big player in it, but to get that tag with no points, you can usually draw. I've got guys that have drawn 8 out of 9 years over here, but then some people only draw every other year. You don't need a preference point to draw, but it's cheap insurance. So if you go online, you can just buy a point for, I think it's $27. All you have to do is go online and buy the thing, and then you've got a point for next year, which historically will make you a slam dunk for the draw. If you decided you wanted to hunt this year and you have an outfitter picked out, whether it's me or the next guy or whatever it may be, you've got, I think, till midnight today Central Time to get your applications in. So at a minimum, get online, buy the points, $27, cheap insurance, and then you at least have somewhere to go next year. And there's still time to get in on some good stuff this year too.
Tim, so you're saying your zone is historically one of the tougher ones to draw. So what unit are you? Curious.
We're in Unit 1 and 2, a little bit in 3 as well. These units out here are huge. I'm not familiar with every state in the country, but I think the unit that I'm in right now is 9 counties. It may be bigger. I'm sure I'm probably off on that, but it's a huge unit. I would think they would have them be a little smaller, honestly. And the state of Kansas is kind of confusing. You can apply for 2 units in every application. So your first choice, you apply for your primary unit and adjacent unit. And so you can cover 2 different game units with every tag. And that's how there's a little bit of leeway in getting your tags out here as well, is because you can apply through the neighboring unit to the south and to the east. Now, we're up against the Colorado border and Nebraska border, so you can only border it off of 2 different directions. But some of the places out in the middle of the state, they draw every year. They even have leftover tags because of the adjacent units. It's really confusing, and it's really hard to summarize. In fact, I won't even try. But the units that we're in primarily is Unit 1 and 2, but you can apply to Unit 17, you can apply to Unit 3, 4. There's multiple ways to apply in getting into these units out here.
And Tim, I know you said you have till midnight tonight, and you said jump online, but some states have a telephone prompt number Is there a number to call, or is it just through the Kansas Wildlife or on our website?
Through the website is where I would go. You probably could call Pratt, the Pratt office. It's PRATT, and ask for licensing if you run into trouble on there. But if you just go online to Kansas Outdoors, ksoutdoors.com, I think it is. I hope it is. My position, I should know what the website is. But I could be wrong. But you can pull up Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks through Google search and find it regardless, and apply that way. And it's pretty simple as long as you understand that there is an adjacent unit in the draw. It's a lot of states you just put in for a first, second, third, fourth choice, and each choice has one unit. In Kansas, it's not that way. You get 2 units per choice, and that's where people get confused the most. As long as you know that going in, it doesn't matter what your adjacent unit is. As long as you have the unit that you're hunting in and on there as your primary or your adjacent unit, you just have to make sure that the unit that you're hunting is on the application and on your tag when you get it. That's the most important part. Don't let the other stuff confuse you. It's just I really don't know why they do it the way they do it, but it's just important to know so you don't get confused up front. That's just the way that it is.
Yeah, so you get 2 choices. You pick A and B as your top 2 choices to make it simple. That's it.
Yeah, and that's given your first choice in your tags. If you put in for unit 17 and it would get an adjacent to 2, you'll draw 17-2, which means you can hunt either unit. And then on top of that, to muddy the water even more, you can apply for a mule deer stamp, which is a really long shot tag, which we can get into if you want to. But the whitetail tags are what you have to draw for primarily. Everybody has to get a whitetail tag first and foremost, and then from that point you can add the addition of a mule deer stamp if you chose to.
Can you just apply for mule deer, Tim, or is it only set up for one way?
Yeah, it's only set up for whitetail first. There's no way to leverage the mule deer draw, unfortunately, or I could almost double in size in a year. We have more mule deer property than we do whitetail property, but the tags for non-residents are very hard to get, and it's only archery or muzzleloader that you can apply. And even at that, every year I can count on one hand how many tags we get. The statistics show that there's a lot more tags out there, but we don't see them over here. It's not a destination state for mule deer, unfortunately. It would be if the tags were easy to get, but there's just not a way that you can just go for a mule deer tag in this state.
Gotcha. Now, for some odd reason, Tim, if somebody does not draw that tag with 2 zones as your top choices, what happens then? I assume the state just refunds the money back, or how does that work?
Yeah, they do, and they might have some options for leftover tags in other parts of the state, and I'm pretty limited on my knowledge to just over here in this corner of the world where I'm at. But if you don't draw your tag with the state, from their standards, they'll just refund your money. With us, if you had a tag and you buy a hunt, usually people book the hunt before they have the tag because of the supply and demand. You kind of have to have your spot picked out, and with success rates, it usually works out the majority of the time. But from the state perspective, they'll refund your money. If you do it through us, we'll usually push you over to the next year with your preference point. You're historically a slam dunk to draw. I mean, allocations change every year. I'd imagine this year there'll be a dip in applicants because of what we're going through with the virus. I forgot to put in for Colorado for the first time in years, and I put it off, and then it got past me. I just forgot the days, and I'm sure that's happening across the board in every state, So I would imagine this year will probably be an easy year to draw with no points, but even still, probably looking at some people that are going to get bad news if they didn't draw. So if that happens, you're awarded a preference point, and you can then put it towards next year. And again, if you do it through me and you're trying to hunt with Reddog and you don't draw your tag, then we can look at hunting my Nebraska ground, or we can look at doing something next year. But that's really the exception, not the rule. Most of the time people draw.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds simple enough, even though Kansas is a little more on the confusing side of things. But website-wise, Tim, it actually is KS, like in Kansas. It's ksoutdoors.com. It gives you all the proposed season dates for 2020, and right there at the top it says buy your license and permit. So you can just click on the link, go through it, and basically follow through what Tim said, and hopefully tonight by midnight you get that done and you can be hunting Kansas this year.
Yeah, you might as well get in for it. I mean, we've all kind of taken the spring off, obviously. I know some of you guys have been getting out there hunting turkeys, but it just isn't the same. Hopefully this virus goes away and we have something to look forward to here this fall. And the way time's flying right now, it'll be here before you know it. You don't want to be sitting there without a tag this fall when things get back to normal, hopefully, and, watching everybody else shoot big deer. You know how it is. So get out there, at least get a point for next year, if nothing else.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm kind of totally agreeing with Tim on this. I think that this year would be a great odds in getting a tag. I think guys are going to be a little less reluctant to go due to financial reasons or just trying to regain home life after the COVID issue. So this year is going to be a really good year odd-wise to draw. So make sure you guys, like I said, that's why we're putting this episode out today, so you guys have the information. Jump online, get after it, and Tim, man, thanks for giving us the info, and let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. If anybody has any questions or if anybody decides they want to book something last minute, shoot me a call. Search Reddog Outfitters online. You'll find me. My number's 720-232-0173. If you don't mind me dropping that, I'm here to help. Text or phone is fine. And thanks for having me on your show, man. I always appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not trying to jump off super quick, but the point is to get this info out. But as always, and me and Tim always, get together during, pre and during hunting season, and we'll have a bunch of episodes with Tim coming up, I'm sure, once again. So, Tim, thanks so much, man.
Yep, thank you. Take care.
All right, we'll see you guys next week.